Jim Hardiman. I'm here in beautiful Victoria Park, Truro, Nova Scotia on a busy Saturday afternoon. And I've decided to make a quick video to introduce myself and tell you why I'm getting into federal politics. I hope you enjoy it. First of all, I want to keep this short as we don't want to create a feature-length film. I was born in Halifax and moved to Ontario before I was 1 because my father was in the military and he was posted there. My father, Jim, was a veteran of World War II and my mother, Ada, was a war bride. I moved back to Truro when I was 10 and went to school in Truro, De Burt, and Oslo. I met my wife, Judy, in grade 11, and we were married a year after graduation from Quebec Educational Center. We've been married now going on 41 years. We have 2 daughters and 2 wonderful grandkids. While in Truro, I was a member of the Air Cadets and served with the 1st Battalion of Nova Scotia Highlanders North. I joined the Canadian Forces straight out of high school, following in the footsteps of my father, and I spent over 30 years serving Canada. I started in the Armour Corps and retired as a logistics officer at the rank of colonel. I served in several units, including the Special Service Force, the Army, the Navy, and our training systems. My service has taken me to many places, including the Canadian Arctic, all but 1 province, and abroad. I did 2 tours in Nova Scotia, one of which was in Halifax, where I was an operations officer in a headquarters called Region Operations. There I supported organizations like Emergency Planning Canada and the Emergency Measures Organization Atlantic Canada to provide the coordination of military support to missing person searches, mercy flights, explosive ordnance disposal, and many other emergencies, essentially coordinating military support when the civilian resources either did not exist or the existing resources were overwhelmed. During my time in Halifax, I also served as an aide-de-camp to 2 lieutenant governors, the Honorable John Schaffner and the Honorable Alan Abraham. During my military career, I commanded several units, including a large school in Borden, Ontario, that employed 200 educators and graduated thousands of students annually. I also commanded the Kosovo refugee camp in Borden in 1999 and coordinated the efforts of Citizenship and Immigration Canada, the Red Cross, and many other government and non-government agencies. I led the risk management operations for the Navy. Among others, this included diving safety, submarine safety, audit, and environmental regulations and compliance for the Navy's operations in Canada and abroad. My last post was with the Canadian Forces Operations Support Command, where I was a senior operations officer known as a J3. In that position, I was leading the support to Canadian Forces operations, including our efforts in Afghanistan. That included everything from delivering main battle tanks for the fight to Tim Hortons for morale. Judy and I always planned to move back to Truro upon our retirement. Our hearts were always here. In fact, I kept my riding and have voted in Cumberland, Colchester my entire life. After retiring from the Canadian Forces, I decided to spend some time with Judy, as my service had often resulted in us being separated. So for the last few years, we have golfed together, traveled together, and spent time with friends and family. I have many interests, including current events, history, and learning about other cultures through travel. My hobbies include scuba diving, where I was an instructor, and golf, but my favorite is photography. In fact, Judy and I have a website which presents our photographs. I have led or participated in many activities in the communities where I have lived, from Terry Fox runs to being a mentor at the Truro Library for teenage and adult photography work groups. For 3 years, I also volunteered on Tim Hortons Camp Day and operated a fun photo booth for people to get dressed up in silly outfits and have their pictures taken. This was done in Bible Hill. Judy and I have traveled to most parts of Nova Scotia, which includes almost all the areas of Cumberland, Colchester. In fact, in support of tourism, I have led many Canadian American tourists on photography trips around Cumberland, Colchester, and other parts of Nova Scotia. Despite my lack of experience in relation to party politics, I have a great deal of experience in working with senior government officials and elected representatives, especially in complex organizations that require consensus building with other government departments, non-government organizations, and indeed other countries. Mr. Casey's retirement is a great loss to the political life of Cumberland, Colchester, Nova Scotia, and Canada. His contribution and the achievements to our communities and our country are very significant. I'm not suggesting that I have the same experience or knowledge as Mr. Casey. I do believe, however, that I have the same commitment to our communities, our province, and our country. I believe that my knowledge and experience provide me with the appropriate background to be effective in representing the people of Cumberland, Colchester in the federal government. Concerning the issues as they relate to Cumberland, Colchester, Nova Scotia, and Canada, there are several. Among them are the availability of healthcare, cost of prescription drugs, support for the seniors who need it, the development of rural economies, including a priority for high-speed internet, an increased emphasis on tourism, and the development of alternate forms of energy. On the national level, climate change and confronting it in a meaningful way is critical. Finally, creating through Canada an economy that takes advantage of global trade, not an economy that is diminished by globalization. Based on what is going on in the world right now, I think it's particularly important that we all support our democracy and our democratic traditions, that we remain committed to treating all people with respect, dignity, and compassion. People matter. So that's it. I hope this brief introduction provides you with enough background and information about my experience and motivations to vote for me. If you have any questions, I can be contacted through Facebook, the website, by email, or by phone. These details are posted with the video. Thanks for watching.